So here's Group H's Week 11 presentation. Our topic was, should there be laws that ban some kinds of home-based work and not others? For example, sewing, or people who use computers for their job. Why or why not? If there should be restrictions on some kind of home-based work, what principles should apply in deciding which kinds? So there are some jobs where there would be laws, or at least some restrictions against it. So, like, obviously, if you're working at a company, they're going to have a better security usually than your home would. So, if you work from home and you're working with like confidential data, like if you're a government official, you're probably not going to have as good of a security as you would if you were working at your office. And if you were at your home, not without the same amount of security, you would actually open up yourself to more hacking risks, more risks of information being stolen. Um, and there are some ways that could potentially alleviate some of that risk, like the company could provide a VPN, which we've actually mentioned in a previous presentation, where companies can actually create a private network, a virtual private network, and that would allow anyone who has the credentials to get into that network to work on the same network as if they were there at the office, but they could be at home. Um, and there's also virtual machines, like a remote desktop. Like, let's say I was at at work, I could access my desktop from work using using a certain program that actually comes pre-installed in Windows. Um, that's a little less that's less secure than a VPN, but it could still be done. Some of the restrictions, but not necessarily laws that we thought that would be applied, where it would obviously depend on if the job could be done at home. So obviously, like programmers and seamstresses, sure, like it, so they could do work from home, or people who usually just like deal with data and are putting it in Excel and stuff like that, they could do work from home. But construction workers can't, because you can't be at home and building a bridge downtown. That's just not how that works. At least not yet. Um, and if you're doing like research, you usually, like my brother does some research and he interviews patients and whatnot. He can't do that from home. He has to actually be there with the patient to gather the data, ask them the questions, etc. It also depends on if the employees have the required equipment at home. So like a seamstress wouldn't be able to do her sewing or their sewing if they don't have a sewing machine. I mean, kind of goes hand in hand. Um, also, yeah, like programmers wouldn't be able to do any programming if they didn't have their files, if they didn't have the right programs they were using to actually create the software. It also depend on the work productivity, the employee's work productivity. So if they're like a really good employee and they're like you never have to talk to them, they never have any issues. They always get their work done in a timely manner. They're like the perfect employee, or they're a decent employee at least. Then, and if you can trust them, like if you can trust that they'll get their work done without any delay, then sure, that would be up to the company to whether or not they'd be allowed to work at home. But if they're constantly slacking off, they're constantly getting bothered, if they're constantly off track and whatnot, then you wouldn't want that person at home, because what are the chances they actually do work? Um, Also, if they were to go home and do work, you'd have to be able to trust them to do the same amount of work at home if as they would if they were in the office, as well as the same quality of work, because you don't want some like half attempted software that's incomplete. You would want something that's pretty high quality. And some jobs that shouldn't be allowed are construction workers, or courtroom jobs like your judge, your attorney, your plaintiff, or your legal stenographer, which for those who don't know is the person who types the script and everything that's said. found that out. And also political positions, because you wouldn't want a governor handling emails from their home, because that could lead to leaks, and that could be really bad. Um, and there's more than likely more, but those were just some that popped into my head that I could think of. And yeah, thank you.